I think we're good to go. Hi, welcome, my name is Ansu, and today I'm here to talk about all the books I read in the month of July. I had a very good reading month in July. I ended up reading 11 books, and they were not small books, so that was really good. I mean, I'm proud of myself. I read one book that was less than 300 pages. I read 8 books that were in the range of 300 to 499 pages, and 2 books that were over 500 pages. Definitely had a good mix of books that I read this month. Yeah, they were all fiction. They were all medium to fast-paced, mostly emotional, lighthearted, and adventurous books. But let's talk about all the books that I read in the month of July. Okay, first and foremost, I read Skyward by Sanderson. This was actually gifted to me by Kelsey like last September, I think, for my birthday. So yeah, I finally got to it, and it was really, really fun. This book is a young adult sci-fi. So we're following around Spencer, who's like living in outer space in like this another planet called Attribution. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not really sure. But anyway, she lives there with all of these humans, and they're always constantly in a war against these people called Krell. They're like alien creatures. We're not sure what they're exactly made of. I don't know. Basically, the people who fight off these Krell alien things are pilots, and the pilots are really just looked high upon all the time, always. But Spencer has always been ridiculed because her father had actually abandoned ship and he ended up being killed. So everyone thinks that she's going to be the exact same way. She's going to abandon ship when it really matters. So people kind of hate her all the time, and she has to prove that she's good enough to be a pilot, and maybe she will be. That's pretty much the story of this book, and I really enjoyed it. Spencer as a character, we can see the growth in her by the end of things. I personally didn't love the deaths that were involved in this book because I felt like no one really had any connection with those characters, and it was just trying to be very emotional when I felt like it really wasn't that emotional. But anyway, overall, it was really fun read, and although it was sci-fi and it's something that I totally do not read, I had a lot of fun reading it, and it was not like crazy sci-fi, if you know what I mean. So it was not bad. It was a really fun book. I really enjoyed this one. By the way, give this one a 5 stars. Next up, I read Anna K by Jenny Lee, and this one I honestly picked on a whim, and I got this for a couple of dollars. That's why I got the physical copy of it. It's like a retelling of Anna Karenina by Leah Tolstoy. So we're following around this girl who is perfect in every sense. She does not make a mistake. She is the smartest, she's the prettiest, like everything good that you can think of, she is that person. She is also in a relationship with this guy named Alexander, I think, and she's been in that relationship for a very, very long time. Her boyfriend is said to be very loyal, but he's also very boring, so she is not feeling things for him any longer, so it's like kind of getting a little weird for her. But on the flip side, she ends up meeting this guy called Count Vronsky. His name is Alexia. He's just a very charming young teen who kind of takes a liking towards Anna K, and so does she as well. She starts to like Alexia for some reason, and it's their like affair, their love affair sort of, and yeah, that's the story. There's a lot of cheating involved in here. I think there's a little mention of sexual assault, drug abuse, all of those things are in here, so if you're triggered by any of those things, maybe you need to stay away from this. Like literally every single character that you're following around basically cheats. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that. That's one of the reasons why I disliked Anna and the French Kiss, but that character was much more unlikable, but this one for some reason was a little bit more likable, you know? It was a weird, fun story, but I gave this a 4 stars. Next up, I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the 3rd book of Taylor Jenkins Reid's that I'm reading, and I was really impressed. I had a lot of fun reading this. This basically follows around a bunch of siblings who are the children of a really famous singer, Mick Riva, and these kids are trying to make it on their own. Pretty much all pro surfers. They're really good at surfing. We're in Malibu in August 1983. This party that's happening in one of the siblings' house every single year, and essentially this year, after the 24 hours period, it ends up in a huge fire that burns down the house and a bunch of other places as well. It is the party to be at. If anyone's really invited, it's amazing. It is a pretty amazing place to be at. Anyway, we're following around all of these siblings. Each of them has their own little secret that they haven't told their siblings, and they're kind of living this life of sort of a lie because of whatever secret that they have, and we're trying to figure out what's going on and all that kind of stuff. It's really fun. I had a lot of fun reading this book. Nick is not the best father figure, but these characters, these siblings, they're just so tight-knit. It was so lovely to see them together and interacting with each other. We're following everything that they've been through through and all of that kind of stuff. It's really fun. I really had a good time reading this. I gave this a 4.5 stars out of 5. Next up, I got an early audiobook copy from NetGalley called The Arrangement by Kiersten Modglin. See, this book was really short. It was less than 300 pages. This is the book that was less than 300 pages. And I honestly didn't think I was going to like it that much. I just, it was just a fun little thriller that I was in the mood for, and I read it and I loved it. It was really intense. It's a very short book, but it's packed with a lot of stuff in it. It's just so good. I personally really enjoyed reading this one. So basically we're following around two main characters. We have Ainsley, who is a fixer. Her marriage is kind of falling apart and she wants to fix it as much as possible. So she has a couple of kids with her husband, and as her marriage is falling apart, they come into an arrangement together where they would literally just go on a date on Thursdays with anybody else. So it's like an open relationship, sort of, but the other person they're dating does not really know. It's not even really a date. Like, they're not going to be exclusive with that person. It's just mostly going to be just to get to know another person, just get your emotional and sexual frustration out. Essentially, that's pretty much it. Try to get through this relationship and, fix their marriage like that. The rule is that they will never discuss what happened on that date with the other person, their husband or their wife. Even if the rules are broken, some very terrible things happen. Their deepest, darkest secrets come out, and the only way that they can keep that secret is within each other. They cannot literally talk to anybody about those secrets. They're just going around figuring out what happened between Peter and Ainsley, what's going on, how this can be fixed, and all that kind of stuff. It is a very thrilling novel, and I had a lot of fun reading it. Maybe it's not going to be like surprising to a lot of people, but I had so much fun reading it. It was super creepy. Absolutely enjoyed it. Next up was also another early audiobook copy that I got from NetGalley. This was The Husbands by Chandler Baker. This one is going to come out on August 3rd, 2021. This is a feminist thriller. I honestly didn't know what I was going into, so this was a fun surprise, honestly. I gave this another 3.54 stars out of 5. We have Nora, who is an attorney, and she has a child with her husband who really is not involved with anything at home. So basically Nora always does everything. Like, she takes care of her daughter and, packs her lunch, takes her to school, takes her back from school, and fixes up everything for her, like cleans the house, all of the daily chores at home. And taking care of the child, everything falls on Nora. Nora is also pregnant right now, so she expects the same thing is going to happen even when she's pregnant and, much more further into her trimesters, I guess. She knows this is going to happen. She's really upset. She tries to communicate with her husband. He's like, yes, I'll fix things. And he never does anything. So Nora and her husband are trying to figure out if they can move houses. They want to go to some other place, which is going to be a little bigger, I guess. And it's in Dynasty Ranch. And essentially there's a nice community there, and it's filled with people who are really career enthusiasts, I guess. I think we have a tech CEO, a neurosurgeon, an award-winning therapist, best-selling author. So there is a bunch of people who are living there. They're all highly qualified women, and it's a tight-knit community. So if you want to get into the Dynasty Ranch and get into that house and live there, you have to fill out huge forms and stuff. It's a huge process. All of these people have really, really supportive husbands. They do everything around the house. They take care of the kids, they do everything. So they're trying to recruit Nina into coming into this neighborhood by agreeing to take a case for the wrongful death of a resident. During this course, Nora kind of figures out that there's a huge secret that this Dynasty Ranch is kind of keeping. So basically, as this case unravels, Nora comes to know about this plot that can help her get everything that she wants in life. It's a little weirdly creepy. The husbands that we are seeing are too enthusiastic almost, so you'll figure it out when you read it, what's going on. It's an interesting read. I've never read anything like this. It is a feminist thriller, so yeah, it was interesting. I think I gave this a 3.5 stars, but it was good. It was a fun book. Next up, I read The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. This is the 4th book of the Truly Devious series. If you want, you could technically read this without reading the other 3 books, but you'll get spoiled for the case that happens in the first 3 books. It's up to you, really. Honestly, I don't think it matters. But personally, I really enjoyed this book much more than the Truly Devious trilogy. The case that was going on in this place was also really fun to see from. So essentially we have Stevie Bell, who goes to school for like highly individualistic people who have great potential in the area that they're studying. They're essentially just high school students, but Stevie is really into crime. She wants to solve crime. She wants to be a true detective. She's just really smart. She is like a tiny Sherlock Holmes, right? Basically this time around, Stevie's called into this camp place because back in 1978 a bunch of murders happened in the camp area, and we don't really know why these people died. The way the investigation went in that time was so botched. It was terrible. Everything was so wrong. Nothing was solved really, and we don't know who the murderer really is. This falls around Stevie and her friends who are just trying to solve this murder back from 1978 with like barely any information. I thought it was really fun. I had a good time reading it, so I think I give this like a 4.5 or 5 stars. It was just really good. I really enjoyed it. Next up, I read The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. If you didn't know, I love Christina Lauren. I think they're such good authors. We have the single mom, Jess Davis, who's a data and stats wizard, but no amount of like data crunching is allowing her to get back into the dating world because it's so messed up there. She had been raised by her grandparents and she's now living with her 7-year-old daughter, Juno. Jess really feels like she cannot let anyone in because she's been left hanging a lot. One day Jess hears about this app called Genetically. It is a DNA-based matchmaking company. So essentially they take your DNA and do some tests around it and figure out who's your best suited partner. Jess loves numbers so much. She really thinks that she can rely on these numbers, and having a 98% compatibility is next to impossible. But it does happen, and it happens to Jess and Americano. River is just a very stuck-up and stubborn man, and Jess kind of does not like him, but he's very cute. They're like such a highlight. It would never happen really. So we're trying to figure out like how this happened, and they go on dates, kind of fall for each other. It's obvious it's a romance, but it's very sweet. It's very cute. The relationship that Jess has with Juno and her grandparents, and the way that River is also kind of connecting to these characters, it's just very sweet. I personally really enjoyed it. Really nice romance. I really had fun reading it. I flew through this in like a day or two. It was just so sweet. I personally loved it. I always love everything that Christina Lauren puts out, so 5 out of 5 stars. Really fun. Next up, I read Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. Jesus, okay, that's a long title. It's by Benjamin Alire Sáenz. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right. This one falls around Aristotle and Dante, mainly Aristotle, who is this very angry teen, and he has a brother who is in prison, and he doesn't really know much about that brother. Nobody in his family really talks about that brother. It's really frowned upon to talk about him. The book is a very lyrical story, and it follows around what Aristotle is going through. He's just very angry until he meets Dante. Again, he's still angry, but like, Dante is just a very precious type of a boy. Everything is just very straightforward for him. He loves animals. He's just a very sweet kid. The two characters are major loners, and they end up actually spending a lot of time together. They have this very special bond and a special friendship between each other. And it is through this friendship that Ari and Dante kind of figure out the deep truths about themselves, and they really just connect with who they are and become truly themselves. This is actually narrated by Lin-Manuel Miranda, so he has a beautiful voice. Really nice way of narration and everything. He's really good at it. But personally, I wasn't a huge fan of the entire story. I know people love this book, but it really wasn't for me. I thought it was fine. Like, it wasn't the best thing I've ever read. I think I gave this like 2.5 or 3 stars. It was, I don't know. I found Ari to be a character who was not very likable. Dante, like, there were some situations that Dante got into that I got so mad at him. Like, he could totally have stayed away from getting hurt in certain ways, and he just didn't. And I didn't understand him. Okay, I get it. Like, he's a very sweet character, and people take advantage of everything that he does. But it's just, I don't know. I didn't love it. It was, I think, set in like the 1980s or so, so it was a time when gay romance was very, very frowned upon. Yeah, not a huge fan, unfortunately. Moving on, the next book I read was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. 2.5 stars. I know, again, I know people are going to come after me for this one. I know so many people love it, but personally, I didn't. Man. So we're following around Achilles, who's like the best of all Greeks. He's very strong. He is very good at battling and all that kind of stuff. He's just very strong. He's also the son of the cruel sea goddess named Thetis and legendary king Peleus. He's beautiful. He's strong and all that kind of stuff. And then we have on the flip side, we have Patroclus, who is, I think he's a son of a king or something like that. He got exiled from his homeland because of an act of violence that he did. And he's just a very awkward little kid that moves to where Achilles is living. For whatever reason, they gain this bond between each other and they're just so good with each other. They're good friends, and then slowly kind of turns into a romance. They're trained by the centaur and they learn much more about each other, and they're just really close. One day Achilles comes to know that if he continues on his life, he's not going to be known for anything. He's kind of like called in just because he could be something great if he went up for battle. He goes to this battle, he has to fight this battle to be known in the future. Patroclus and Achilles don't know that the fates are going to affect them both, and they're trying to like maneuver through everything. And Achilles had grown to be this very rude person. Like, he was really rude. Patroclus deserved better. Like, I don't know. I didn't like their relationship with each other. I just thought Patroclus deserved so much better. He was a good person and he definitely deserved a lot more than what Achilles was to him. And it just, I don't know. It was not my favorite. I didn't like it. I thought Achilles was just so full of himself and he just listened to himself. If he for once listened to Patroclus, things would have gone so much more different. Actually, it wouldn't, because it was like fate set in stone essentially. So there was no way anything would go any differently, but still. Yeah, it was a weird book. I didn't like it. Alright, moving on. At My Contrary Mary by Brodi, Ashton, Cynthia Hand, and Jodi Meadows. I love these three authors together. I think they're the best narrators. I listened to the audiobook, so they kind of made it so that the listener can actually listen to how these narrators are talking. So if you're reading the physical book, these narrators come out and they're like, "Dear readers, this is what is happening, readers," or whatever, right? But when you're listening to the audiobook, it literally says, "Dear listeners," and it's really nice. I thought that was a really nice touch to things. But essentially, in this world, we have Mary, Queen of Scots. She's actually in real life beheaded, I think, but in the story she does not die. She has like a happily ever after kind of a situation. They have this world where some humans can actually turn into animals. So Mary is actually a mouse. She can turn into a little mouse. These characters are called Etians. I think they're shapeshifters. They are hated on by so many people who are normal human beings. They absolutely detest these kind of creatures. They think they should be beheaded, they should be killed, and all that kind of stuff, right? Mary has a confidant in her betrothed, Francis, who is also the crown prince of France. Something happens and ends up killing his father, and Mary and Francis are kind of thrown at the throne. Ooh. Anyway, they're kind of trying to navigate the things that's happening, all the politics, the terrible things that are going on, and they're trying to fix all the relationships that they have. Francis and Mary are really good friends. Francis has feelings for Mary, but Mary never really had those feelings reciprocated. But they're trying to like understand each other. There's like a sweet romance going on. It's really sweet. I believe this is a YA book, but it's honestly so fun. Definitely recommend this whole series by these authors. It's just so good. I absolutely adore them. Final book I read in the month of July. Which month are we in? July. Final book I read in the month of July was kind of a disappointment, and was Last Chance Books by Kelsey Rodkey. This has a very good premise. But by the end of it, I didn't care for any of these characters, and I didn't like it by the end of it. I gave this a 2.5 stars, I think. I got this as an early copy from HarperCollins. I think I got this after the release date, so I did start reading it way back in May. But did I finish it? No, because I honestly got so bored with it. But I forced myself to finish it, and I'm done with it. Personally did not enjoy it. So we have Madeline Moore, who nothing will stop her from making sure that her family's independent bookstore will stay open. She has to keep it open, and she has been flirting with this other guy named Jasper Yamada. And one day, basically, another bookstore opens right opposite them called Prologue. Prologue is essentially like Barnes & Noble. It is a chain bookstore. Madeline is so sure that she's going to lose all the business, which it does happen, like she's losing a lot of her business to Prologue because it's a much bigger store with a much wider variety of books. Madeline is in this fight against Jasper, who's also working there, and he's taking her customers away. So it's just a fight against bookstores and these characters. There is a romance involved between Jasper and Madeline until I want to say like 50-60 pages. It was fun, right? And we were trying to find like what's going on, how are they going to like hurt each other, not hurt each other, but like how are they going to fight with each other. It was fun. It just took a slightly different turn where the more important aspect was also Madeline's mom, who was never really there for her, coming back. So we were just trying to figure out this family dynamic, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. I really didn't like Madeline's mother. I just thought she was so uninterested in being there. Like, if you didn't want to be there, don't be there. Like, oh my goodness, I did not like that character at all. I hated her so much. Madeline and her family definitely deserved a lot better, but you know what? Yeah, I didn't like that. Madeline was also kind of like, she thought that she knew everything, and her aunt, who was like owning that bookstore, like really working for it, that was basically Madeline's mom's sister, Astrid. It didn't really sit well with me the way that Madeline interacted with Astrid, who did everything for them, and I didn't love her. I didn't like Madeline for quite a bit. So yeah, not my favorite book, but it did definitely have a nice ring to it, the way that everything was kind of set up. Maybe some people will enjoy it, but it was definitely not for me. Anyway, those are all the books I read in the month of July. We are so close to the end of the year. I read 11 books, dudes. It's amazing. I'm so proud of myself. I did not expect that. Let's be real. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Ansu. Please don't hit the subscribe button. Please do. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified every single time I upload a new video. That is it from me. I'll see you all next time with another one. Until then, I'll talk to you all in the comments. Bye!